everybody, welcome to the Film Pod. I'm Jackson Witzel.
And I'm Ivan Lichtenstein.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Well, really, there's no one watching yet. We're going to send out the
Us.
link. But we're running a little late tonight. We were going to start at 9:30, but Ivan was having some camera problems, but it's all resolved now.
Yep, all good to go.
Yeah, so I'm going to post the link to the stream. Ivan, you do the same.
We'll do.
Hopefully some people will tune in. Let's see. Ivan, when are you going to work?
Cup?
No. We were talking about two different things. I was going to ask you when you're going to do the theme song for the Film Pod.
I feel like it should be. I feel like if I did that, it should be on piano.
I don't know. You were pretty amazing with the guitar. Okay, wait. My link isn't posting correctly. Let me delete that. World Cup. No, I don't watch the World Cup. I'm not really that into soccer. Or
Me neither.
sorry, football.
Football. I just remember my brother was watching it, so I saw a little bit of it, and Russia beat Saudi Arabia 5-0, and Putin was at the match.
Wait, Putin was at the match?
Yeah. He was at the one where no one cared. No one cared.
Speaking of dictators, did you see that all the stuff with North Korea going on right now?
I have.
Without getting political or anything, I will say it's a interesting time to be alive.
It really is.
Really is a unique time. Let's see. I'm gonna send this live stream. Guess I'll send it to a couple people.
Have you seen the Nerd Crew episode?
Which one? Is there a new one?
The Solo, where they're talking about Solo.
Did that one already come out a while ago?
Yeah, it's like they quit the Nerd Crew and they get jobs.
How long ago did that one come out? I'm trying to remember if I saw that.
A couple of weeks ago, I think. It was just really funny.
I feel like I probably saw it. I know there was one they made like before it came out. I'm wondering if that was the one you're talking about. Sorry guys if we're not super interesting right now. I just trying to get this link out to people. Okay, let's see. Annoying how we kind of have to wait until we go live to actually send out the link.
Yeah.
But what can you do?
Not a lot.
People who watch this that aren't watching it live are gonna be like, when are they gonna get to the movies?
Just start talking about like barbecue, like something completely random.
Barbecue.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give the ribs a 7 out of 10, but the pork was an 8. Jackson, what do you think?
I mean, fair enough. Like, I did actually have some good barbecue lately, or not lately, recently. I forgot how to English. Let's see.
I'm gonna give English a 9 out of 10.
As a language, I don't know. I'd probably give it like a 7. It's kind of difficult to learn. None of the rules really make sense. Dang, we still got 0 viewers right now. Come on, guys, get with the program.
You sent the link out, right?
Yeah, I posted it on my Facebook and sent it to some people.
Okay, yeah. I wasn't tagged in it though, so that's probably why.
Oh, my bad. I always forget to tag you.
You're good.
Yep. Let's see. So, Ivan, what did you think of E3?
Um, it was everything I expected it to be. An onslaught
And
of really
and
bad
more,
games.
Ivan, and more.
No, it was everything I expected it to be at the bare minimum.
At the bare minimum. Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
What did you think, Jackson?
well, like it kind of depends on like which company we're talking about because like every company sort of did like their own thing, and it was sort of to different levels of quality. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw Sony's, I was like, really like, I thought they were, what's the word I'm looking for? It just felt so corporate for what they were doing in a
Yeah.
way. Like
I
they
I
had
thought
their whole trailer for The Last of Us Part 2. They had all the people inside of a tent that looked like it from the game. I was like, oh, come on, really?
yeah, I didn't watch Sony's entire I guess you call it like a live stream event basically, but I saw bits and pieces of it. I really didn't like get into it until I watched Spider-Man. I watched the entirety of the Spider-Man stuff. Um, that was about it. I mean, I went back and watched bits and pieces of it, but I mean, I really like Sony. I like PS4. I mean, I have a PS4. I got a lot
Me
of
too.
games I love on there. I mean, it's a great console. Uh, but I mean, it just didn't seem like they had a lot to really show. I mean,
Yeah,
they only focused on what like four big games really, like
pretty much.
um
I mean, like,
and
then they put Black Ops 3 for free on the PSN store, and the announcer called it, not announcer, but the commentator called it a tasty little treat. A tasty little treat. So stupid.
that it was a tasty treat. Whatever that wasn't some guy playing the banjo too at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were sending me like pictures of it as it was happening, and I'm like, geez,
I was
what's
like,
going
Jackson,
on?
you have got to watch what's going on right now.
Yeah, that was
This is beyond what I expected.
it was interesting. It sort of seemed like they were trying to like I don't know, maybe copy sort of the quirkiness that Nintendo has had with their E3s in the past, but Sony's just not really that type of company.
They're really
If
not.
I'm being honest.
And
Um,
sometimes, whenever you hear people speak at E3, it's like they've never taken a speech class in school or have ever had
yeah, they
speech
always look
therapy.
like way more nervous than they probably need to be.
Like, we are now going to show you n- new gameplay footage of this game.
Yeah, kind of weird. But yeah, Sony's was kind of awkward. Not bad, but definitely pretty meh. Um,
Nintendo's the only
Micro,
one that I think is not that awkward.
yeah, well, they pre-record theirs, which is honestly kind of smart. Um, but Microsoft's was, I mean, not. I mean, I think it wasn't. I think Sony's was maybe a little better, but Microsoft's was probably less cringe. Um,
Yeah,
like Microsoft's was less awkward, but they didn't really show off that much, and Microsoft's like exclusive lineup is extremely lacking, um,
yeah.
especially this generation. So, you
It
know,
could have been Sea of
whatever.
Thieves. Sea of Thieves could have been their exclusive.
Don't- I was gonna say like we'd have to probably get a separate like gaming podcast if we were gonna go into Sea of Thieves because like that game, man, I'm a for anyone who doesn't know, Banjo Kazooie is my favorite video game. So to see Rare go to the point they are now is pretty sad. But anyway, aside from that side rant, Microsoft it was okay. Sony could have been better, but they showed off better games than Microsoft did. Uh, EA's was horrible, absolutely terrible,
What do
garbage.
you expect? It's like I said,
It's EA.
E3 was everything that I was expected to be to the bare minimum. EA's was gonna
Yeah,
be bad. Microsoft and Sony would be eh. Nintendo would be like the best one since they have like
yeah,
Smash Brothers and a Mario Party coming out. Like they win.
yeah, definitely. And I mean, Ubisoft showed off what? Just Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and was there anything
Hmm.
else they showed?
Mm,
That was the only big one, right?
yeah, I don't want to say they made the division because I'm not sure.
Yeah, and then Bethesda's was okay. I mean, Fallout 76 is just like a online game, so maybe it'll be fun. But it's probably I watched some gameplay. It didn't really look that interesting to me. And
Yeah,
then
like
yeah, we
so
got
it's
an
not
old.
like wait, so it's not like a full game. It's just like online.
I think okay. Well, if I completely misrepresent what the game is, then I'm sorry. But I think it's just like basically a online only type game. There might be like a campaign, but I think it's sort of like Elder Scrolls Online, which we
Yeah,
finally got the announcement for Elder Scrolls 6. Uh,
yeah.
but we got a logo, so I mean, who cares?
I mean, it's yeah. That means it's gonna take a while for it to come
It'll
out.
be like 3 years or whatever. Who knows? But yes, Nintendo won E3 again this year. They won it last year by like a long
Yeah.
shot. This year, a lot of the hardcore Nintendo fans were complaining about it. But I mean, honestly, from my perspective, like, and I'm a pretty huge Nintendo fan. I mean, I've been like a Nintendo fan my whole life. I thought like it was a good E3. I mean, considering where that company was like a few years ago and where they are now, I mean, I think that they're doing some great things.
Yeah.
You know, and
Crossplay.
yes,
Crossplay.
crossplay and but yeah, like you were saying, new Smash Bros, new Mario Party, it's gonna be good. There's like at least one new Switch game like coming out every month for like the next 6 months that I'll probably buy. So it's it's a good time to be a Nintendo fan. Anyway, we've talked about video games to death. I see we have 0 viewers currently. We had one, but whoever it was went away. Um, I guess we could ramble on about E3 for a few more minutes if we want to wait
Yeah.
for someone to
I was
get in
actually
here.
gonna
Because
tell you the story of what happened to me over what was it on Wednesday when Ti came on tour.
oh yeah. Tell this story, Ivan. This is a good story.
So yeah,
Even though
so
there's no one
basically
here to watch it.
I know, but it'll be saved for later so people can watch it afterwards.
Cool.
So I get to work and I'm in the office and there's like and so I think someone from outside was like, there's a black Escalade outside with a security guard by it. And we're like, we don't know who that is. And so basically nothing happened. So we're like, oh, okay, it's probably nothing. And then this my boss was doing the information session for our tours in a building that was kind of farther away from where our office is located because our original location there was an event going on, so we have to go to a farther location. So my boss does the information session, and in the room is Ti sitting with his son.
Holy crap, dude.
Yeah.
So T.I.'s son is gonna go to Georgia State.
Well, he's taking a
Where he's,
tour.
where he's looking at it. That's cool,
He's
dude.
looking at it. Yeah, I mean they live in Atlanta. I mean they live in Georgia anyway. But
I mean, if they
basically,
live in
like my
Atlanta,
boss
then that makes sense.
I mean, my boss comes back into our office from the building that was far away, and it's so like I'll just say what the building is because Jackson will know what it is, but no one else will. So just to give Jackson
Sure.
perspective, it's in the Urban Life building that we had to like
Okay.
do it. Yeah, so it's a pretty far walk. Um, but my boss comes back in the welcome center, the main office, and he says, "You're not Ti is on tour." He's like freaking out pretty much because he's like somewhat of a Ti fan.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was the funniest thing too because we all knew who Ti was, like everyone on tour like knew who he was, but his tour guide didn't had no idea who he was. Of
Dang,
all people, yeah.
dude. So
And then
did you go on the tour and Ti was like, "Oh my God, it's Ivan Lichtenstein from the
no,
Film Pod."
I'm sure he's not a viewer, but it was funny too because like his son came back, he didn't, and because I like saw his son come in, he filled out a survey, turned it in, so I gave him a shirt. But then I like looked up his son. I was like, oh, that's the son that was just here. So yeah, and then he apparently Ti was like one of those parents who asked a bunch of questions on tour.
And don't we love those parents, Ivan?
I know, and he was like talking about like asking about the history of the school and all that.
Mm-hmm. You're like, well, historically, Jackson Witzel was a student here, so it's a pretty important university for the state of Georgia. Anyway, not to cut your story short, but we got a viewer.
Yeah.
Let's hold on to
All
our
right.
viewership right now, and let's start talking about some movies.
All
Because
right.
we're what, like 15, 20 minutes into this stream, and we've like not even talked about a movie yet.
Yeah. So I think I'll start off the first movie.
Go
I'm
for
gonna
it.
start off with a good movie, you know?
Wait, are we talking? Wait, Ivan, are you doing this like out of order now? You always mess this up.
It doesn't matter. It's my turn. I'm doing it the way I want.
No, no, we're doing it in order, Ivan. You're not gonna just
Then you start
change.
it.
You're not gonna just change it willy nilly. All right, fine. You can talk about the good movie when we get to, or you the classic movie.
No, 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 no. Let's not change the order.
No, we're not.
Let's just have let's go ahead, Jackson.
All right, so I'm following our format here, but Ivan's like, "Oh, I'm gonna just tell everybody all the movies we review beforehand, and I'm gonna
I
just."
didn't do that this time.
Yeah, I know you didn't, but you messed it up in a different way. So you gotta make me look like I'm like, just this anal dude on camera now. People are gonna be like, "Oh man, Jackson's so uptight." But anyway,
Well, I'm not that
we're.
uptight,
Well, no, we were talking
but
about.
I don't know
I was
about
talking about
you.
myself, but anyway,
I just have to clarify that. That's why I said that.
yes. Now that we're done bickering like an old married couple in front of our one viewer, um, let's talk about our first movie, which is the. I'm sorry. Let me start that over. Bleh. Let's talk about our new release, which is Deadpool 2.
All right. So Deadpool follow yeah, again, not speak English today. Deadpool
Tell
follows the
tell
story of
everyone
Wade Wilson
tell everyone about your experience seeing it because it was kind of an interesting story.
with Deadpool 2.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
Deadpool
yeah.
2.
So I actually got to go see Deadpool 2 a week in advance because I had advance passes. So I got to see it before everyone else. So my whole review on the movie, I couldn't really put out or say anything about the movie because there was an embargo on it. So basically before like any other movie critic saw it, I was like one of the first people to see it. And when I saw the score on Rotten Tomatoes, I was like, yeah, that's about right. Deadpool 2 follows the story of Wade Wilson as Deadpool in the second movie, and it follows things he does. And that's all I will say about Deadpool 2 because I don't want to spoil it at this very moment. And I will say Deadpool 2 was a pretty decent movie. It was really good. If you like the first Deadpool, you're going to like Deadpool 2. Jackson, what did you think of Deadpool 2?
Well, it's interesting that you say that because I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he told me he really liked the first Deadpool movie, but he did not like the new one. And his reasoning is actually like decent, and I agree with his opinion on that. These are two fairly different movies. Now, are they like similar in terms of like tone and like ideas and in like a sense of humor? Yes. I mean, like it's Deadpool. It is if you liked the sense of humor in the first movie and you liked the sort of like type of fourth wall breaking character stuff from the first movie, like it's all there. But the plot of this movie definitely, I think, takes a different sort of direction than
It
the
does.
first one. Like it's very much a I don't know if it's a sign maybe that Fox is kind of leaning more towards there's sort of that thing right now with them maybe being bought by Disney. This film, while it still had the raunchiness and the craziness and all that stuff you love about Deadpool from the first movie, the story felt a lot more kind of like a typical like sort of superhero movie type of moral dilemma, but with Deadpool in it, which was interesting and different, I think, from the
Yeah.
first movie.
I will say about the tone of the movie, there's many different types of tonalities that are in this movie. Whereas in the first movie, that had one basic tone, which was just to be like raunchy, pretty much.
True, but I think the first movie definitely had some different tones too. I mean,
Hmm. They
the
don't stand
scenes
out.
where the scenes where he gets his powers and like basically he goes through all that torture in the first movie. That's some pretty dark stuff compared to the
It
rest of the
is,
movie, which is
but
like more
here's the
comical and
thing.
lighthearted.
Here's the thing. It's that is there, but I think the raunchiness and like comedic tones going into that scene kind of overpower it.
Yeah, it's I mean, and even
That's
in
why I
this
say it's one
movie,
basic tone.
yeah, and I mean in this movie too, there is sort of that humor that does interrupt that really serious tone. Um, I feel like it was a little more seamless in the first movie. This one, there were kind of moments where like you do sort of get a little more invested in it, and then they sort of throw in a joke that like, yeah, is good because it's a Deadpool movie, but at the same time, it also like I wouldn't even say it like cheapens it at all. It does sort of jar you because just generally as a viewer, especially I mean even myself, I'll admit like as a viewer, you like in terms of like how you feel when you're watching a movie, like a certain film's tone, like for a certain scene, will definitely just sort of make you feel a certain way, obviously. And when they sort of take that tone and like throw it out a little bit for a joke, it works for Deadpool, but it's still a little jarring. Whereas I think the first movie maybe just didn't go to as many extremes with the tones, so it felt like a little bit more like they kind of blended
Mm,
better.
yeah, there was definitely a high level of extremeness within the tone of this movie. And it's funny that you talk about the jokes too, and like what they go for in the movie, because I thought the jokes worked really, really well within the first act. And then you get to the second and third act, and it's like, okay, I get it. Like it's like the Wolverine jokes were kind of tiresome. A lot of the Marvel jokes were kind of tiresome, and the dubstep joke was kind of tiresome. So it just kind of gets tiresome within the second and third act of those movies. I mean of that movie. But it's still in a way it's weird because I'm tired of those jokes, but they still work.
Yeah, even the ones that like I didn't think were like overly clever or anything, I still found myself laughing at just because I think what this movie does really well is even though yeah, it's sort of got I'm not even gonna say like bad problems with its tone, but it has some small issues with its tone. Um, Despite that though, this movie is so much fun to watch. Like it still has that sense of fun that the first movie had, and in a way, I think it sort of improved some of its fun
Hmm.
because the first movie just I think there were just certain scenes in the first movie that I don't know. To me, they were just kind of bleak, and they sort of just felt like superhero origin-y. Whereas this movie, like, it doesn't have to worry with his like anything with his origin or these flashbacks or anything, and it just sort of tells one simple story, and it's a really fun story in my opinion.
It is like it's a really fun story that you're able to like follow along and you understand like it does there's something that happens in this movie towards the beginning and that sets a huge part of the tone for this movie. And so for the rest of the movie, there's more of a motivation for what he does than there was within the first movie. So that was a really great thing that they improved upon. But the biggest reason, the absolute biggest reason why I think Deadpool 1 is better than Deadpool 2 is Fire Fist.
Fire Fist.
Fire Fist. Fire Fist sucked.
You know, I've been hearing a lot of
He said
people
it
like,
was he wasn't good. I was the whole prison scene was boring.
yeah, I mean, okay, I'll put it like this. I didn't hate him. Like, he didn't really bother me, but he really didn't make the movie, like, he didn't add anything, in my opinion, that perhaps a better actor
He was
or like
so bad.
a better written
So
character.
annoying.
Because he wasn't written very well either. I mean, it wasn't just like the acting was bad, but like, I didn't think he was written particularly like that well either. I mean, there was potential there with him, but um, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that he's sort of a weak spot in this movie, especially given that he's like the driving force for the plot.
I mean, yeah,
Like
he's
why
a
would you make
big part of the plot.
why would you make the weakest character in the story like the driving force for the plot? I mean, he's like the second or third most important character in the movie.
Yeah. And it's funny too because he's 15, the actor's 15 years old and he's not allowed to see his own movie, like legally.
That's hilarious. I mean, I got nothing against the kid. Like, I mean,
No, I mean,
there's been worse child actors, but he was definitely kind of
it was pretty
miscast.
bad.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
again, I didn't hate him, but when you say he's bad, I'm not gonna defend him because he was
yeah. And like,
bad.
then there was another scene in the movie that I thought was like really, it was like leading to a really awesome and great thing. It's when he forms like, and this is like spoiler warning, by the way, spoiler
This
warning.
movie's been out for like a few weeks now.
I know, but like, I'm just doing it just in case, you know. But anyway, spoiler warning. So there's a scene where he like Deadpool assembles a crew to take down and rescue Fire Fist, and then take down Cable in the thick of it all. And Cable's the other character in the movie who's played brilliantly well by Josh Brolin. Really great
Josh
addition to the
Brolin
movie.
is just doing a lot of good things with Marvel these days.
He
That's
is,
all we can say.
yeah, he's a really great actor and underrated too. But he forms his team, and the team that was like one of my favorite scenes in the movie when he's actually like forming the team, and you see so many personalities like on that
That
team.
sequence is so good.
It's really
Like
great. And then
that
like
should have been the movie. Honestly, it really should have been the
they should
movie.
have. And then like you see them like jumping on the plane, and you're like, all right, I'm on. All right, this is exciting. I'm ready for all this. And then like a majority of them die. I was really disappointed. I was like, you could have done because like I understand like in the script, and it was actually kind of funny that happening, but
Mhm.
you could have done so much with all of that.
Yeah, I think I don't know, them all dying, and again, spoiler warning, but people should have seen this by now. Uh,
Yeah,
them all dying, yeah, it's sort of some wasted potential, but I think they kept around the characters that needed to be there. And
Domino was kind of. Domino was. She had a cool concept
I
to
like
her.
Domino. I liked her.
I just thought it wasn't. I mean, it was executed well, but not the best.
Yeah, I mean, she's not the best character in the movie, but I think overall she's good.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, there's definitely some missed potential there, but I think that just the gag was great, and it fit that movie so perfectly. So,
Yeah.
um, how long have we been talking about this movie now, Ivan? Have you been keeping
We have
track?
5 more minutes left. We've been talking about it for 10 minutes.
Okay, yeah, I can talk about this for 5 more minutes.
I'm trying to like
Um,
find out this thing actually, because when they're actually assembling the team, I'm trying to see if like the Vanisher is like Brad Pitt, because I've seen it twice now.
yeah, I think he was.
I'm not sure if it was like a.
So now that we're in spoiler territory,
Yeah.
let me get to the ending of this movie. So, ending of the movie, Deadpool, quote unquote, dies, even though we know he's not going to actually die. And
Yeah.
uh,
It
you
was
know,
a really elongated. That was like another. It was a really elongated ending.
I think is I don't think the ending was bad, but personally, I felt it was just really predictable. And even though the comedy's good, they just draw it out. This whole like Deadpool's dying scene like for so long, and then it
It is.
doesn't even really like amount to anything. And one issue I kind of had with this movie, especially with the ending, was that because of this whole time travel mechanic that is introduced with Cable, um, all of like the real like tension in the movie is kind of taken away at the end because it's like,
Yeah.
uh, his girlfriend who dies in the beginning of the movie, Vanessa, she is saved at the end because Deadpool uses time travel, and it was a cool sequence to see him actually save her, but it sort of derailed like what was almost the point of this movie because he goes through this whole arc of sort of like saying goodbye to her and trying to like move on and find these new
I
characters to be
know.
his family, and then he sort of derails that all at the end, which is kind of weird that they just sort of threw away almost the whole movie because of that. Um, and also, it sort of wastes her character because it's like, what was the point of her dying then? And she could have been like an important character in the movie, or she could have been utilized more. Because she's a good the actress who plays her, like I think does a great
Oh, she's
job.
great. No.
So it's sort of like I think she was kind of wasted in this movie, and you know, when you watch most of the movie, you're like, well, she was kind of wasted, and it was sort of a shame because the whole first movie was about him getting with her. But you see, like that her death impacts him, and it's sort of like part of his character and sort of helps him grow. Because this movie was sort of more about his growth than the first movie was. The first movie was kind of just showing us like what happens with him and how he becomes
Yeah.
Deadpool, and
And I just
um,
realized too, like for future generations that watch Deadpool 2 and Deadpool 1, you have to watch them in order. Like,
yeah,
because if you don't do that, you're gonna be very disappointed by Deadpool 1.
yeah. Um, but another thing too, though, is just that it's like him going back in time and saving her. Doesn't that like mean that like none of the movie happened?
Pretty much. I mean, like,
Or but like for the next movie, I mean, okay, we know the X-Men have a pretty messed up like timeline. Like it makes no sense anymore. And it's like gone all over the place. And so it's sort of like it's one of those universes where it's like who cares to a degree
right?
with the timeline, but why would you mess up the timeline of your own movie within the same movie? Like,
Right.
it's a little weird in my opinion. Now, granted, the other time travel jokes they do at the end are pretty great in my opinion. I like that he all the stuff with the Deadpool from X-Men Origins Wolverine and the whole thing with the Green Lantern. Um, like, I think all those jokes at the end were pretty great, and this movie definitely does leave you on
No,
like an
the ending
emotional
sequence
high.
is great, like for sure.
Yeah, no, and the thing is like the whole sequence on its own is really great, but
It is.
sort of,
Like,
but I do think the time travel stuff makes the movie itself, like the main story,
yeah.
kind of pointless, which is
Yeah.
kind of weird.
But it was actually really interesting though in the theater because when I saw it, we were basically like a test audience pretty much.
That's
So
cool. That's really cool.
all the jokes in the first act were had people laughing a lot. Towards the second and third act, a couple of people were laughing. I mean, it was still consistent, but not as much as the first act. Towards the end sequence, that got more laughs than anything that actually happened within the plot of the movie.
Well, it just sort of goes to show
That was
you
a
that.
really that was not a red flag to me, but like it was just really interesting to see that.
Well, but that's the thing is the first act and the third act were very joke heavy and very like action heavy, and the second act had a lot of action too, but it was the most
Yeah,
like plot driven part of the whole movie. And I think what I mean, I really thought this movie had an ambitious plot for a Deadpool movie, even though it was sort of just plopping him in another type of superhero scenario. I thought that like the ideas they were sort of challenging, like Deadpool as a character, and I like that.
yeah,
But I think in terms of what people like the most, like I think a story light Deadpool movie with a lot of jokes seems to be like what people want more so than anything, because I don't think people really
yeah,
cared that much about the plot of this movie. I mean, you get sort of sucked into certain aspects of it, but because of that jokey nature, it sort of takes you back out of it a little bit. So
it does. So we're winding down
wait.
the timeline.
Before we rate it, what did you think of the Juggernaut?
I didn't care.
I don't know. I thought he was pretty awesome, especially when he splits Deadpool in half.
Yeah, I mean he's there for literally like two scenes.
I think they redeemed him though from his last X-Men appearance.
Oh, see, I never saw X-Men, so I can't really like say.
You never saw any of the X-Men movies?
I saw the first one, but I never like went through it.
Have you seen Days of Future Past?
No.
Oh dang, Ivan, you got to watch a couple. Well, okay, the X-Men movies have varied a lot in quality, but you need to at least see the good ones because the good
Yeah.
ones are really good. Uh, and I'm not even like a huge comic book nerd. Like, I mean, I love all these Marvel movies and stuff, but I'm not like an expert on comics. I like the X-Men movies. I've enjoyed them. Anyway, let's go to our rating. We're past our 15-minute mark, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, Ivan, what would you rate Deadpool 2?
I will rate this a 6 out of 10.
Nice, nice. I would say that I'm going to give Deadpool 2. It's somewhere between a 6 and a 7. You know what? I think I am going to settle on. I think I'm going to give it a 6, even though, which I mean, 6 is still good. I was going in tonight, kind of thinking about, thinking about what rating I was going to give it, and I was going in, and I was thinking, oh, I'll probably give it a 7 or something. But just sort of talking about the issues we both had with it, I think that it settles at around a 6, but like a high 6.
Okay.
What's going on with your screen, man?
Is it black again?
Yeah,
Okay, let me try and see if I can try and fix this. Give me one
yeah,
second. I'm not gonna close out of it.
yeah. Don't live stream on your phone, Ivan. Jesus.
Sorry, my computer's not working. Gosh.
Well, I think
Gosh.
you're like texting or something during the live stream, Ivan. I can hear your phone like
I
making little
am, but I'm
vibrating
also like,
noises.
it is.
Yeah, I can hear like you texting.
Yeah, I know. I'm texting someone real fast.
Our whole audience can hear you texting, Ivan. So
Really?
unprofessional.
Let me see if I can make a beat then.
I'm trying to make a beat. I haven't finished up Texas. We can talk about the next movie. Jesus.
All right, so the next movie is, drum roll please.
Well, we gotta wait till you're on screen, dude. You're like not even on screen yet.
Watch this.
Okay, fine.
Am I back on it?
No.
What am I?
you're like
Am I still
you're,
hitting? No, like am I still am I like I'm on this? I'm on screen though.
your Google your Google Hangouts profile picture is on screen, but
Oh, there it
you
is.
were not.
Okay,
Oh, there you are.
that was weird. Okay,
All right, so our classic movie is The Departed.
The Departed. All right, so The Departed is a pretty much a cat and mouse movie directed by Martin Scorsese, where Leonardo DiCaprio is working for the New York City Police Department, and he's going undercover in a crime organization led by Frank, who's played brilliantly by. I blanked out for a sec. Jack Nicholson.
Yep.
But the thing is, Jack Nicholson has an undercover informant of his own, his son, played by Matt Damon, who's going undercover in the New York Police Department. So it's pretty much this movie is pretty much a whole cat and mouse game to try and expose one another and take down the crime organization. So Jackson, what did you think of The Departed?
Well, first of all, thank you for describing the plot, because even though I understood the plot really well, I would not have described it like quite as well as you did. I
You're
would have
welcome.
probably described it like there's this one guy and he's like a cop, but he's not really a cop, and then there's this other guy who's like working for the Jack Nicholson, and he's a bad guy, but really he's good, and they both have a girlfriend that's like the same girlfriend. Like I would have done a terrible job. But wow, this movie, like, okay, if we're just talking about the plot alone, this like, okay, sorry to be like describing it like this, but this movie did blow me away in a lot of ways. I want to just go ahead and say this, and I don't say this lightly, but I think that the relationship that is established between Leonardo DiCaprio's character and Matt Damon's character, and these are two characters that do not share any on-screen time
Right.
at all until like the last 30 minutes, and this is like a 2.5 hour long movie. The relationship that is built up between these two characters who are not together and like really don't even know that the other one exists throughout most of the movie. Like it's a really well done like relationship between these two that's like set up sort of, and it's not, and you wouldn't even really call it a relationship because they're not acting together, but they are like the effects of like the things that one will do will affect the other and vice versa, and their plot lines are constantly intersecting, but they don't quite meet yet. There's a lot of points where they're like, like one is on one end of a heist or a scam or something, and the other one is on the other end, and one's working for Jack. Yeah, it really is. One's working for Jack Nicholson, but really isn't. One isn't working for Jack Nicholson, but he really is. Like it's so cool. It's a really, really great story.
The thing I love about it too is that I think the actors were chosen in such perfect casting, because
I know
Mark Wahlberg's in this movie and he plays kind of like that like classic like rough 'em up street like cop pretty much, and he could in any other movie he could be overly exaggerated to what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think is because his character works, the way the character set up is just so well done. It works in this movie, and
I
that's
don't
just
know.
like great directing.
I don't know. I will admit I did think he was a little over exaggerated. I didn't think he was bad.
But that's his character though.
Sort of, but it didn't really match it, like the other characters in the movie, in my opinion. Like Jack Nicholson could have been really over the top, but he wasn't. Mark Wahlberg especially was just kind of over the top. But again, I didn't think he was bad. It just the performance didn't necessarily land for me. But it's interesting that you say that though, that it worked for you, because I mean, just sort of different interpretations of sort of that performance. And I guess that would sort of lead into.
I don't know why I said. Sorry, I don't know why I said New York. It's Boston.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I keep saying New York. Anyway,
I should have caught you on that. But yeah. like I said, Mark Wahlberg's performance wasn't necessarily my cup of tea, but it wasn't bad. And the thing is, all these performances are really good. It's almost distracting how many A-list actors are in this movie. Like,
It is like
holy
Matt
crap!
Damon, like
Leonardo
probably his best
DiCaprio
performance,
and
like his best performance since Good Will Hunting,
yeah,
hands
he
down.
was great. Leonardo DiCaprio was amazing as well.
Yeah,
Jack Nicholson sort of, I think, dialed it back a little bit for this movie, and I think it really was a good performance from him as
it really
well.
was.
Um, and like I said, even though I thought Mark Wahlberg was a little over the top, I mean, there wasn't a bad performance in this movie. Let me just put it like that. Like there wasn't even there was no bland performance in this movie either. Like everybody like fit pretty well with their roles in it. Um, I don't know. I mean, this is just a really well done movie.
And it's
What
a
I was
I'll
gonna
keep
say real quick though about that relationship I was talking about between Matt Damon and Leonardo DiCaprio. I think number one, the fact that those two, you wouldn't necessarily think they look like each other, but when you see them both like in the same movie enough, they sort of start to blend together in a way, and like I mean that in a good way, like uh, because you almost feel like that they're both the protagonist here, and it almost sort of blends to be like almost like one character, but like two different like sides of
yeah.
and not even like one character, but like one central idea of this like character of like who basically portrays like betrayal, and it's like that theme is sort of woven into one idea, which almost makes one character between the two, and the fact that they like don't really interact throughout most of the movie and then they do at the end just makes that tension at the end so much better because I mean like the scene where one of them calls the other one on the phone, like that scene is not only really well edited
It
and really well
just
paced, but like just what you sense there from those two characters, them finally talking, it's just like just chills, man. I mean,
and there's some shootout scenes
it's
in this
chilling.
movie, like some really great shootout scenes that are really tight knit and well edited. And you watch it, and like coming from an editor standpoint, that is not easy to do.
And also,
Like it's
like,
not easy. The way it's edited, like the way it's
yeah.
shot, like the way your actors should be directed in certain scenes and like where they're going, like in the area of the setting, it was not easy to do, and it's pulled off just flawlessly.
Well, and the way those shootout scenes like go is just so unpredictable. Like, you really don't know who's gonna live and who's gonna die.
Like you really
Like,
don't. Like
you're
especially
always on the
like
edge of your seat with it. I mean, like, no one is
really
safe.
the edge of my seat wasn't those shootout scenes, but it was pretty much just the cat and not the cat and mouse aspect of it, of like who's gonna catch who first, like who's gonna expose who first, like throughout the entire dialogue heavy scenes throughout this movie. That was the most tension for me.
Well, that's the thing. This dialogue is really well written. This movie is extremely well edited. I mean, I might say that this could be in my top five or top three like best edited movies of all time. The pacing is so damn good. I just
Keep in
gotta
mind as
say,
well, this is a 2.5 hour movie.
it does not feel like 2.5
I watched
hours
this right here on my screen. Let's see if I can flip my camera over here. On my screen right here.
with the
I
laundry
sat
basket.
here. Yeah, my laundry basket because I'm packing for vacation. But anyway, I sat here for about 45 minutes. Didn't even know.
Oh
It
yeah,
just
and this is
square
this is a
family.
movie I'm gonna watch again, and I'll probably watch it like more and more times. Like it's that
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I mean, especially because there's so many details in this plot. Like you can tell, like that whoever wrote it just really, really thought it all out. Like there's so many details. Like I mean, you blink and you miss something. Like there's just so much happening, and
And
there's no filler like in this movie at all. It's plot from beginning to end. Like just like none of the bull crap. Just like a lot packed into a fairly short time span, honestly.
yeah, like me, like I watched this and I was thinking to myself, like, because the plot's kind of crazy in a way, where it's like they're sending informants and the
Yeah.
way they get to their positions is crazy, but it makes so much sense why they're there with what's in like the writing of this movie and what they do to get there. it's just like one of those things like you think like, wow, this wouldn't work in any other movie but this movie. This movie wouldn't be the same if it was directed by someone else for sure.
Well, yeah, Morton. Not. I almost said. Why did I say Morton? Martin Scorsese is at his best here.
It really is like he won Best Picture for this movie.
He deserves
Out
it.
of all of his movies, yeah.
I mean, of
Crazy.
the movies I've seen of his, this is my favorite.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like Taxi Driver a little bit better, but that's just personal opinion. I mean, they're
Yeah.
both great movies.
I don't think I've seen a movie that is this well paced, if I'm being honest, or at least this well paced with this much material in it.
Oh no, like it's so fascinating to watch. Like if there's one thing that I would want to like leave a viewer with is like watching this movie, it's fascination and curiosity. That's what's gonna be going through your head as you're watching The Departed for sure.
Yeah, it's funny too that you and I sort of have a similar story with this movie. Is that both of us had like seen parts of this movie before we decided to review it, but neither of us had seen the whole thing through. And then we both did recently, and we were both just like, "This movie is awesome! Like, why did we not
Yeah.
watch this sooner?" Honestly,
Yeah, no, it's fantastic.
how many minutes are we at for this review?
We are actually about to hit it right now.
About to hit it. All right,
Yeah.
so we've gushed about this movie. Ivan, was there anything at all you didn't like about this movie, or you thought maybe could have been a little improved?
There was some moments. I felt like the end was a little bit rushed in some ways, but that was about it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. Like I said, I felt like Mark Wahlberg was a little over the top, but the thing is like, even though I felt like seemed a little out of place with that particular performance, I still think that his character worked well in the movie.
Oh, he did.
And
That's the thing.
I
He
think
worked so well.
the fact that he was a little different also kind of added to it. So I wouldn't even necessarily say it's much of a complaint, but it's a little bit of one. And then like you said, the ending, considering how much is packed into this movie, um, the ending does kind of come like very fast, and you're like, "What? It's over? That's it? Like all this?"
Yeah,
You know? But
it's really well
and
paced.
and I guess the ending. I mean, this isn't different from too many other movies, but it does. This movie does sort of have like uh, I wouldn't necessarily call it multiple climaxes, but there are sort of like multiple like endings. Like there are sort of multiple scenes where you sort of feel like, all right, that's got to be it. That's got to be, and then next scene comes and you're like, well, what's going to happen now? You know, Jack Nicholson dies and you're like, well, that's got to be the end of the movie, right? And then it's like, oh wait,
No,
it's like
there's
no,
more.
Matt Damon, and Leonardo DiCaprio. They guys they gotta
They got a little other thing going on.
yeah, they gotta settle this whole thing, and then it's like, oh wait now this is happening. You know, and now one of them's dead, and they're at the funeral, and well, I guess that's it. And it's like, oh no, Mark Wahlberg at the end. What?
Yeah, I mean,
And then,
there's some things logistically that don't make too much sense.
yeah,
But that's
that ending was crazy. And then the little rat at the end was such a nice touch.
Oh yeah,
That was great.
it's
But all
beautiful.
right, Ivan, what would you rate The Departed?
I would give it a 9 out of 10.
So would I. 9 out of 10.
All
I
right,
think we can agree
next
on that.
movie. We
Next
can.
movie, our garbage movie. All right, let me clarify real quick about why this is our garbage movie for the week. We were going to talk about Bright, but I didn't want to watch Bright. Ivan, how far did you get into Bright before you stopped watching it?
I had 30 minutes left until it was over.
Oh, so you got fairly far in then.
It was
Maybe we'll do it next month. Maybe I'll force myself to watch it. I just know that like the 30 minutes you and I watched a couple months ago, it was so boring. But we were going to talk about Bright, which probably is a legitimately garbage movie. But
it is.
we didn't really feel like talking about it this month. Maybe next time. So our garbage movie, and let me start by saying I do not think quality-wise this is a garbage movie. It is a mediocre movie, but it is not quality-wise garbage. But it's the first Star Wars movie to ever bomb at the box office. So by default, I think it kind of deserves to be in our garbage category for this month.
Wah, wah, wah.
So our garbage movie is going to be Solo, a solo Star Wars solo story. Solo.
That was probably seen by one solo person.
Oh!
Ooh.
Oh, Bam!
World Star.
God, we're awful. All right,
Yeah.
so
It was seen
Solo.
the audience for Solo was the amount of viewers we get per podcast.
I mean, to be fair, we might be doing a little better.
Oh, Star Wars
Oh!
burn.
All right,
All right,
we are
Jackson, what did you think of Solo?
Ivan. We are the garbage movie of the month. So, Solo, a Star Wars story. Well, for anyone who doesn't know, and we reviewed The Last Jedi, so if you've seen it, you kind of know. I'm a really big Star Wars fan. I love the originals. Uh, I don't like the first two prequels. I really like Revenge of the Sith a lot. Um, the new Disney ones are kind of hit or miss for me. I haven't hated any of them, but I haven't really loved any of them. I really liked Force Awakens, but I didn't love it. I haven't loved or hated any of these new movies. But Solo, a Star Wars story, was a Star Wars story that no one wanted or really cared about. Why do you even try to replace Harrison Ford as Han Solo? I mean, they're probably going to do the same to him with Indiana Jones eventually, and everyone's going to hate that too.
Oh, here's my full review on Solo Star Wars movie. By the way,
What?
so do you like Star Wars so much that you'll pay whatever you want for all the merchandise, T-shirts, and whatever you want to milk Disney out of Star Wars? Well, then you can go see Solo, a Star Wars movie, and then give your hard-earned money towards Disney and local movie theaters for Solo, a Star Wars movie. It's a movie about Star Wars. Star Wars. Jackson, did you know it's a movie about Star Wars?
Whoa! And let me guess, it's starring Han Solo.
Oh, you bet. Solo, a Star Wars movie. If you like milking out your money for Disney and Star Wars, go see it. That's my review. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, why did they choose to release this 6 months after The Last Jedi? I mean, okay, barring the fact that they didn't know Last Jedi was going to be as controversial as it was for the fandom, but I mean, why would you release two Star Wars movies 6 months apart from each
I
other
don't care.
when the next one is coming out like
I really don't. I
in a
really
year
don't
and a half?
care.
I mean, I know
I
you
really
don't
don't
care.
care.
I know you don't care, but like, why would they do that? It's dumb. They could have released this later in the year. It probably would have done better, but still probably wouldn't have done all that great. But let's talk about the actual movie. There's people here. Well,
Every single character in that movie could have been easily replaced by anyone. The characters are slightly better than they were in Rogue One, but
well,
Rogue One's the worst
this is what
Star Wars story.
this is what I told Ivan after I watched Solo. He was like, how was Solo? And I was like, well, imagine Rogue One, but with better characters. 5 out of 10. I know I spoiled my rating, but that was literally what I said to him. And here's the thing, it is sort of like Rogue One, if I'm going to be honest. Like, in terms of its structure, it is a Star Wars prequel that basically starts off really slow, has these like characters sort of going through these kind of bland locales, meeting up, forming sort of a team. They perform some kind of like heist or go on some kind of mission or whatever that goes okay or goes wrong, whatever. And then afterwards, they're given a moral dilemma, which leads into the climax, and people die, our main characters die, and we get an awesome appearance at the end from a Sith Lord. And the best paced parts of the movie are at the end, like in the last 30 minutes, and then the rest of the movie is really slow. Like,
That's it. That's all you say.
like it's basically Rogue One, but with better characters. And
That's it.
but
That is exactly it.
but even Rogue One, like, sort of like kind of had a point. Like, I mean, like, there was like,
Solo has no point.
yeah,
Solo is just
Solo,
a random space adventure. That's it.
a random space
That-
adventure that didn't have to star Han Solo.
I know. It could have been anyone.
I mean, okay, I do
You know what?
like.
I'm sure there was someone out there in the Star Wars universe that wasn't Han Solo doing this already.
Basically.
Like-
I mean, like, people have been saying that, like, they wish that Lando had just been the main character, and I mean, I don't know if it would have been better, but like, given that Donald Glover like does a pretty good impression of Lando, he probably wouldn't have like been as the Han Solo actor was. Which I didn't think he was bad, but he just wasn't Han Solo. If I'm gonna be honest.
It was so boring. The only scene that was like somewhat interesting was the scene where he meets Chewbacca
Yeah,
because like I could see that happening. Like that seems so realistic to like in
yeah,
the Star Wars universe.
yeah. I liked that scene, and I felt like it
It's
fit
not
with
because I saw like Chewbacca. Like it's because like it made sense like why like he would trust him.
yeah, it would make sense. Yeah, that they would meet up in like an imperial prison, and that they would maybe start off a little rocky, but then they'd build up a friendship, and um, that worked pretty well. I liked how he won the Millennium Falcon. I mean that sort of. I mean that played out more or less how I thought it would have.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's that
The card game is interesting.
yeah.
That
The
scene.
thing is it's just like um, even though I think the execution of this movie was not great, I don't think the execution of it was necessarily bad. It's just that it was all unnecessary and everything played out more or less
Yeah.
exactly how you could predict it to. I mean, because we know enough about Han Solo's backstory through the other movies and through like other works. I mean, yeah, I guess a lot of those works aren't canon anymore, but we knew enough about Han Solo to be kind of like, well, we know how all that happened. He met Chewbacca and
Yeah.
he got the Millennium Falcon and he met Lando and the Kessel Run. I guess I think they were banking on people thinking that that was cool to see, and visually it was an interesting sequence. It was one of the more visually interesting parts of the movie, given that the rest of the movie like was really badly lit and like really boringly shot. You can do better, Ron Howard. But
Yeah.
but like, although who knows how much of it was really his fault, given that he had to take over that movie like halfway through,
I know.
because the original directors were fired. But
And the script was like rewritten probably so many times too.
yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too. That's interesting is it's like you've got these Star Wars stories, these spin-off movies that the directors are getting like no real creative control over because like uh, Gareth Edwards, who did Rogue One, he like kind of had some issues with the studio, I think, and they like reshot a bunch of that movie, and then this movie they gave him like sort of some crap for it. Although it's possible the movie wasn't any good beforehand, and maybe that's why they fired him. But meanwhile, they're giving Ryan Johnson a ton of creative freedom to just sort of do whatever he wants with The Last
And he's just
Jedi,
some dude.
even if it makes no sense for the story or some of the characters. It's just like
Do whatever you want,
whatever.
man. It's all you.
Ryan Johnson can do whatever, but these other directors, they gotta pay their dues. It's like
Even though
kind of
Ron
weird.
Howard's so much more established than Ryan Johnson.
Well, Ron Howard came in like at the end of this movie. I mean, he's the director, but it's like, I mean,
Yeah.
I think he did most of the movie, but we really will never know like how much of the movie he really
You
did.
won't.
But this movie's a mess. I mean, if I'm gonna be honest,
It really is. It's a
and
giant mess.
it's a giant. I mean, yeah, it's a giant mess.
It's a
It's
controlled
not
mess.
yeah, it's not a horrible mess. It's a really inoffensive movie. I mean, even though I don't think they got Han Solo's character right. I mean, I think the events of the movie fit well with his character, but just the way he's written and the way he's portrayed, even though I don't think that the actor was bad, he was not Harrison Ford, and he didn't really emulate Harrison Ford, in my opinion. And just here's the thing: the Last Jedi gave us this sort of grumpy Luke Skywalker that, even though I liked that portrayal of Luke Skywalker, I can understand why a lot of fans didn't. Because honestly, that characterization
Yeah.
of Luke Skywalker seems more like an old Han Solo.
It
And
really does.
and meanwhile, this young Han Solo, his personality was more like Luke, like a young Luke. Like I feel like
So
I felt like
replaceable.
I felt like Disney has just sort of just sort of or Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, whoever. I'm not gonna just
Disney.
blame. I'm just, whatever, whoever. They don't seem to understand these like really well established characters very well because they're making Luke act like Han and they're making Han act like Luke, and it's like What are y'all doing?
What are y'all doing? What's up, though?
I mean, these are pretty simple characters. I mean, like, you know, they're good characters, but they're not hard to do, guys. I mean, if I'm being honest here, I think an animated Han Solo movie would have been better because you could have maybe still gotten Harrison Ford to do the
Oh, it
voice or something.
wouldn't. It'd be decent, like at the bare
Well, but
minimum.
if it was animated, people wouldn't worry about it. Even if it was bad, people wouldn't take it seriously. Like,
That's true. It wouldn't be as big though, too.
and I think the thing is with some of these like spin-off stories, I think that they'd be better animated because you could have all these like characters who like their actors are dead or too old or whatever. Like you know, you could easily tell more Star Wars stories with so much less limits if you just did like an animated thing like they did with the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels and all those
Yeah.
shows. Like, you know, instead of a CGI Carrie Fisher and CGI Tarkin, you could just have them as CGI in a CGI world instead of in a live action world, which is pretty jarring. So, Ivan, how many minutes are we on for this review?
We are actually going to finish up right now.
All right. So, last thoughts on Solo, a Star Wars Solo story.
5 out of 10.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I guess I just want to end sort of with my saying that as a Star Wars fan, the franchise isn't in the best place right now. It's certainly you know, I mean, for one, Ivan and I talked about this last night. I'm tired of talking about Star Wars. I'm tired of Star
Me
Wars right
too.
now, and I'm glad we're getting like a year and a half break from Star Wars. Um, but yeah, the franchise is not in a great place right now. I really don't think it's in the worst place. I mean, the prequels were objectively worse in my opinion, uh, and I mean, I think you know, yes, the Disney films have sort of been declining in quality since they've
Yeah.
begun, but I think the lesson to take out of this, really, in my opinion, is that um, Solo bombed, and the only like really way for uh, big corporations like Disney to want to change their properties and maybe make some fixes and make things better in the future is by hitting their wallets. And
I know.
I think that happened with this movie, and so you know they've got a little bit of time to recover. They got a year and a half before Episode 9, and maybe they can
They've got a
scrape
whole
together.
phase set up for their movies. Like,
Yeah, and well, but the next solo movies they're or the not solo, but the next spin-off movies they're talking about are more sort of along the lines of what people were wanting. Like people want an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, people want a Boba Fett movie. I'm not saying that those will necessarily be great, but I think you know there could be something there. Um, but yeah, 5 out of 10 for
yeah,
me as well. Before we finish up, I just got to say, dude, that Darth Maul cameo was so freaking random.
I know.
Like when you saw it and you were
Who
just
cares?
texting me, you're just like, why was Darth Maul in it? And I was just like,
I did. I
I
truly
was
did.
I was just kind of like, they wanted to give the Star Wars fans something to be excited about, I guess. But it was really shoehorned
All
in.
right. So let's jump right into the Q&A.
Let's
Because I
do
have it
it.
pulled up here.
All
So
right.
let's see. Jackson's hair makes him look like a weird English teacher. Ivan reminds me of a weird science teacher. Okay, someone likes teachers.
So like,
Spider-Man looks
okay,
neat.
so I'm a
I
weird
think
English teacher and you're a weird science teacher.
apparently Spider-Man looks neat. I just think everyone is freaking out about it and calling it the next Arkham series without playing it. Are you excited for Spider-Man?
I guess this is when we were.
Yes,
Yeah, I guess
I
this is
am.
when we were talking about E3. But
E3,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I am.
yeah, Spider-Man looks awesome. I already told Ivan
Yeah.
yesterday. I was like, this might not be the game of the year, but it's gonna be my game of the year either way.
Yeah. Do you think it's overhyped? Not really. It's not overhyped because the entire video game community isn't talking about it, but fans of Spider-Man are talking about it within the video game community. So it's not overhyped in any sense, I don't think.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it got the like right amount of attention at E3. It wasn't like they spent an hour talking about it. I mean, it was like what a 15-minute segment. I mean, and the stuff they showed
Yeah.
off was like really cool. I think
Yeah.
all the villains they got planned for it. I mean, like I haven't seen it yet. Or, I mean, I haven't played it yet, but like, I really am so excited for it.
Me too.
Uh,
The
Especially because
Departed is like,
we haven't gotten a good Spider-Man game in like a decade or two, or not two, but it's been a while.
yeah, it has been quite a minute.
Adolf Hitler said, "WTF?"
That's cool. I don't care
Yeah,
about that. Though.
I didn't know
I don't care about
I didn't know Hitler
How do you
watched
usually
our
know?
streams.
Same from the Raywood. The Departed is actually one of my least favorite Scorsese movies. I love the movie, just not as good as Gangs of New York, Casino, and Goodfellas. Well, each to their own. I think Goodfellas is better than The Departed, but I understand where you're coming from. I have not seen Gangs of New York or Casino yet, so I can't
Yeah,
speak on that.
I haven't seen either of those either. But I've heard good things about him.
Eric Levingood said, "I still need to see The Departed." You do. It's a really great movie.
Yeah, I would absolutely recommend it. Anyone who is wanting to get into the film industry should watch it. Just,
Just like
I
a
mean,
study.
yeah, great study for writing, directing, editing,
It's really
acting
great.
too. I mean, it's
Fantastic. Mwah.
yeah, yeah.
All
Can we
right,
be more
John Higgins.
pretentious?
Can we talk about Lando trying to fuck that robot though? Like he was low key in love with her. I mean, yeah, but like I'm not gonna talk about that.
Oh yeah, there was a social justice warrior droid in the movie. Um,
It was
yeah, Ivan, you and I talked about this a little bit last night. It seems like every spin-off Star Wars movie is just trying to have a C-3PO character.
pretty much, and that was it.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, you're right. And then BB-8 is also just kind of R2D2 but more mobile. So, yeah, good
Yeah,
job, guys. Not really coming up with any new robot ideas. I mean, I guess the social justice warrior one was kind of a new idea, but it was really just C-3PO, but woman power.
SJW3PO, pretty much.
I want to see like fan art of that. That has to exist.
I want to
Like with
copyright it.
like
You're
purple
here
hair,
first.
like purple like hair, like just like over like one eye.
On C3PO's face.
Yes, I'm sure that
That'd be
exists.
amazing.
That's got to be on DeviantArt. Absolutely. Okay,
All
guys.
right.
Any more questions?
Doesn't look like
Let's.
it.
You want to
I
give
think
it
so.
maybe another minute or two? Anyone who's watching, leave us a question in the chat and we will answer it. Come on, guys. You know you got them questions. We got some viewers in here. Ask
Yeah.
us them questions, guys. I mean, you know, this is the only Q&A we do every month. Also, for anyone who's watching, we did not discuss this or address this, but we did not actually have our first guest stream last month. We were going to, and what had happened was is the guest we were going to get on, we ended up not really hearing from him, and so there were like scheduling issues. And Ivan was like sick for almost a
A
month.
long time.
Like pretty much like you got sick like pretty much right after our last stream, and then you just got better like what, like a couple days ago or something.
Uh, about a week ago.
About a week
It's
ago.
been a good
Yeah.
while. So that was better.
So yeah, we did not have our guest stream during May, but we are absolutely planning on having it in June, and hopefully every month going forward. We're going to be better about scheduling our guests on and kind of get a little bit of a
Yeah.
plan more ahead of time. But yeah, so from this point onward, we're going to try to just keep that consistent schedule that we talked about, and hopefully, there shouldn't be any more hiccups. I think we're starting to get control of the schedule and
Yeah.
sort of.
We're getting good.
Ivan, where are you? You've disappeared again.
I'm still here.
I don't see you.
You
You're
can see
not
me?
on. Nope.
Where's my. Okay, let me. What? Where'd I go? What? Okay, there we go. That was so weird.
Yeah, I was gonna
You
say
see me?
you're not live stream on your phone again, Ivan.
I'm here. Like I was like on the Hangout app, and for some reason I just went away. But now I'm back, and now I'm about to
Yeah,
go away again soon because we're about to end it.
I know. Well, let's see. It's 11 now, or almost 11. We started at what 9:45
Yeah,
ish, 9:50. So we're time wise, we sort of hit that sweet spot, I think. So all right. Well, our viewers are gone. Our questions
all
are
right,
done. Our movies are reviewed.
all
Uh,
right.
So I think we're about to head out. So thank you guys for watching the film pod.
Thank you so much for
This has
watching.
been Jackson Witzel.
And I'm Lichtenstein.
Thanks for watching, and we will see you guys next time.
Peace, y'all.
See you for our guest stream at the end of this month. Later, guys.